Welcome to the BizGrowMojo podcast, the podcast where we get into real talk about business ownership, growth, marketing, learning lessons, and advice with real business owners. Here's your host, Ryan Amon. Now, let's get down to business.
I'm pumped to get this rolling. Let's go. What if I told you that the reason you're losing sales has nothing to do with your product or pricing? Today's guest, Stefani Havel, spent 25 years leading high-performing sales teams in corporate America before launching her own sales strategy business. And she's about to blow your mind with something called the DISC methodology. Here's the thing, not everybody buys the way you think they do. Some people want you to get straight to the point. Others need stories and relationships. Some need time to think it through, while others want spreadsheets and data before they'll say yes. Stefani's going to share how understanding these 4 buyer types can transform your sales conversations, why many salespeople accidentally push clients away, and the real reason people say, I need to think about it. Whether you're closing deals or leading a team, this episode is packed with insights you can use immediately. Let's dive in. Stefani, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. I'm really excited to hear a bit more about your background and your business. And let's just get started. If you want to tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what your business does, I think that'd be a great place to start.
All right, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. My name is Stefani Havel, and I'm a sales strategist. And I started the Sales Strategy Network. And basically, what I do is I help entrepreneurs or business owners have more clear, confident sales conversations. So really being able to communicate about your business in a way that really builds relationships, closes more sales, and just helps you strengthen relationships and feel more confident.
Awesome. So, how did you get into this? How long have you been?
Yeah, thank you. So I was in corporate America for 25 years. I was in mortgage finances primarily was my role, always in leadership sales roles. I actually say I've been selling for 5 decades. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and so even at a young age, I worked on my family farm to sell produce and vegetables. So I've always been selling, but in 2023, I worked for a large corporation, and they did some reorganizations, and I lost my job. And it was just really at that point, Ryan, when I just thought, I worked so hard. I've had 25 years in corporate and leading these high-performing teams and sales, building those relationships, teaching communication. And I just thought, if I'm going to work this hard and do it, I'm just going to do it for my bottom line. So I launched my career right away. There was no going back. It was Stefani 2.0, flip the switch, and there I went.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, that happens to so many people, and it seems like it's just getting, more and more common.
Yes.
So was there anything in particular that, made you want to, coach and train people? Did you do a lot of that in your previous background?
Excuse me.
Yeah. No
yes, that was my primary role. I was always in leadership roles. I was in retail banking early on in my career. And then I've always had different types of leadership roles and management roles inside the corporation. And that's where I really found my sweet spot. And what I teach, some of the primary foundation of my sales training is on the DISC behavior model. And that's basically that we're all wired differently and people communicate differently. And I definitely didn't realize it so early on in my career. I wasn't aware of it, and then I stumbled on the program, and it changed everything for me because I realized all the people that I were managing didn't all have the same personality style that I did, didn't all sell the same way that I did. And so when I was trying to motivate my team, or we'd have organizational challenges, or we had sales goals and quotas, and things weren't working, I realized, okay, not everybody is motivated by the same thing. So that's where I really started understanding the psychology behind people's behavior styles. And that's why when I was so passionate, when I lost my corporate job, I realized how many entrepreneurs, small businesses, didn't have the resources that I had when I was inside corporate about all these sales systems and sales trainings and opportunities about these programs that could really help managers and leaders and sales professionals grow. So that's where I was like, okay, this is my sweet spot. I love inspiring, pouring into people and helping them reach their potential and seeing what's possible, and knowing that you don't have to be, I'm very extroverted, very outgoing, but you don't have to have that kind of a personality to be successful at sales. And so when you can learn the psychology of it and how people are wired and people learn differently, you can be super successful.
That's awesome. So how does the methods that you do differ from, other sales training programs? And I looked into your background a little bit and was noticing you're mentioning the DISC methodology a lot. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so DISC is a psychology-based behavior. It's been around for over 40 years. Some people might be familiar, with other tests like Myers-Briggs or their strength finders. And so the reason why I really like the DISC framework and I leverage it for sales is because it's about the psychology about how people like to communicate. And it really is, everybody buys differently. Everybody perceives information differently. So some of the other programs, they talk about how you are as a person, which really is important. In DISC, we also teach that as how you understand your behavior style, but being able to pick up on those cues about how your client is. And, it's, without getting too deep, we can maybe talk about it a little later, but it's the DISC. And so people are really one of 4 behavior styles. So the D is that dominant driver person. They just want you to get straight and to the point. They don't need a lot of fluff. They don't want to hear all the stories. They don't care about the relationships. Like, let's just go. Let's just get into it. The I person, those are influencers. They're more relational. They love storytelling. They really want to build on relationships. And then the S style, those are more steady, calm. They don't make decisions quickly. They don't like a lot of change. They just, kind of want everything to go along smoothly, or they value support and loyalty. And then the C style is what we call conscientious, and they're very detail focused, very analytic. And so when you understand the behavior model yourself, so for me, I'm a high I influencer. I love telling stories. I love getting relational with people. If I'm selling to somebody who is a high D behavior style, very direct and to the point, that's where what I teach is how you can adapt your behavior style to match them. If I start talking to them and saying, well, tell me a little bit more about how'd you get your business started? They don't care. They don't care. Just get to the point, right? I'll be like, great. Looks like you're looking for some sales training for your team. Tell me what's going on and what we can do to solve it. Just get right to the point with them. And so that's really how I taught my team. I worked primarily in mortgage and finance, is teaching them that when they're on the phone with the client, listen for those different cues right from the beginning, from the way they say hello and they begin the transaction. When you understand DISC, you will be able to identify their buying style. There's even ways you can tell by their LinkedIn profile, looking at their picture. I talked to the client the other day, and he's an owner of a company that's doing 20 million plus in revenue, and he's got dark sunglasses on in his picture. I'm like, okay, this guy's a high D, right, direct to the point, no nonsense. So just by reading his profile, looking at his picture, I couldn't already know how I was going to lead that sales call. And I was pretty spot on. He just told me, hey, my sales team, we got lack of focus, business is down. Here's why they want to grow. What do you got? Great. All right, let's dive right into it. He didn't care about what my background was or, how many, who else I got working for. He just get right to the point, give me the results and the outcome, and let's go. So that's really what is the foundation of my training. And there's also, because I've worked in corporate, I understand systems and processes. Some of the things I do are like a diagnostic test. Like I will listen in. I can either, virtually or in person, is listen into that sales call and just see how that interaction is with the salesperson and then the client. And also giving them some pointers like, okay, did you hear when the client said, do you have any research or data or what backs that up? Ding, ding, ding. That's a C style. That's where they can learn to adapt their behavior style to that client. So I really like to customize my training, but it's basically understanding that communication because, Ryan, you're in sales and growing a business. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so the biggest thing is they can get to know you and like you, but the way you're going to build trust with them is communicating in a way that resonates with them. And that's where that adapting of that sales style comes in. They'll start to feel that trust, like, okay, she gets me. She's not babbling on, or she's not giving me a lot of facts, or she is giving me a lot of facts. She's not moving too fast. She's checking in for reassurance. Whatever their style is, when you adapt to that, that's where that level of trust goes up. Obviously, the level of like, and of course the no, because, I get them. You get them when you understand their style.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's so much psychology to sales that I think people forget about a lot of times. It's not just a matter of explaining the product and how great it is, or whatever you're selling, but you've got to connect with that person, because, like you said, people buy from people that they feel like they know and trust and like. And it sounds like you're really good at this. You've been doing it for a long time, and you can listen to those calls and pick up cues and recognize things pretty quickly and easily. But what about somebody you're training? What are some of the things you do to help them more easily pick up on things quickly? Like, say somebody's going into a sales call with somebody they haven't really had a chance to do a lot of background research on, or something along those lines. What are some of the ways that you work with your people that you're training to help pick up on those cues quickly to adjust their sales strategy and style?
Yeah, well, and great question, Ryan. And that's probably one of the number one questions that I hear from most people that are looking to hire somebody, to support their team or themselves in sales. And it starts with understanding the DISC framework. So understanding your style. There's only the 4 styles. There's 12 styles total, because you can be a blend of a couple of different styles. But there's so many cues, and it starts out with one thing in sales. It's really important to ask better questions. Oftentimes when I talk, fast forwarding, when people handling objections, it comes down because it's a request for more information. So right when you're starting that sales call, finding out from the customer, what brought you to this call today? What kind of solutions are you looking for? What are some of your challenges? So asking, first of all, the right questions, and then just the way they respond, you will have it all figured out. If they are, and it's a lot just like mirroring. If they say, this is what I need, I don't need a lot of fluff, I don't have a big budget, I just want this. You can hear it in their tone. They're very direct, straight to the point. They talk about results and outcome. So right when you hear that, that's where, and you understand the model. Okay, this person is results driven. I just have to get right to the point. If they say, yeah, well, I've talked to some other people, and, I just really, they start talking relationships and stories, or they want to get to know you on a more personal level, that's that influencer style. So that's where, if you're a high D and you type to get right to the point, you're going to need to soften it up a little bit. And even though it's not comfortable for you, you might have to say, yes, but tell me a little bit more about, your business and the family that you got involved with it. And here's a little bit more about me. Get more relational with them. And then, as I mentioned, the S style, you want to use words like loyal and support. They're going to say, well, what kind of support do you offer? Are you just going to come in and leave us, and, do you leave us with materials, or can we call you? Can we get more support? You listen for some of those trigger words, right? Like the D will say direct, results, right? Get right to the point. The I is talking about fun, energy. The S is talking about loyalty, support. And then the C style is going to be very skeptical. I'm not really sure, Ryan. I mean, there's a lot of other companies that do this. I bought several products in the past and they didn't work. I've done this before. And, I was reading a few articles online. Right away, they start talking about research and data. Yes. Right. Then, that's that conscientious person.
Yeah.
You've got to adapt. So for my style, if you look on the disc wheel, it goes DISC, right? It's a circle. And the ones that are polar opposite, the I and the C, are opposites. And those are more challenging relationships. And I can speak to that because I am such a high I. When I have a client that is a C style that wants all that data and analytics, before I really understood it, sometimes I would take it personal. Like, why are they asking all these questions?
That's me so much, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm explaining it to them. I mean, why? And they keep asking me the same thing, and then they want more proof. And that's a big mistake that salespeople make, is that they think it's all about them, and they take the defense. When it's really, a request for more information. They need to have data and proof before they will make a decision. So give them the data. What other questions could I answer for you? I've got a couple of spreadsheets on the history and the psychology of DISC. Let me get you to this website where I can show you. I've got some results from other people that I've worked with, and you can see their results. Give it to them. Right. I had a realtor that I was working with and coaching with, and we were going through his client and his database, and he had recently lost a really big investor client, and he was really frustrated. And that's why he came to me. He said, I'm losing more business. I don't understand what's going on. And this particular client, so he was a very high influencer story, always having fun, joking around, and a little bit of a D style, really direct to the point. Well, this client asked him, he said, well, I want to see the comps. I want to know I want to compare the square footages and the pricing. And the realtor was like, don't worry about it. I got all that figured. I already did all the research. You don't need to know any of that. I have it all figured out. Great. That was for him. The client.
For one style.
The client wanted that information. I said, so I just point blank, I said, why didn't you give him the information? Why did you feel the need not to share it with him? He said, well, it was a lot of stuff and it was a lot of data and
a lot of work.
Great. Excuse me. But that's what the client wanted. That's what the client needed to feel secure and confident in their decision.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't important to him, it was important to the client. And that's where when a big thing in sales that I teach about sales strategy is, excuse me, something in my throat, is people don't always buy the way we think. Not everybody's wired like us. And we have to understand that people like to buy and make decisions differently than us. And that's where a lot of salespeople will just go into a sale or a conversation with their own style, not considering and not being aware and not I call it like reading the room. That's that emotional intelligence, picking up on those cues as to maybe why they're not responding to us, why they're not buying, why they're objecting, that I have to think about it. Let me talk to my spouse. All of those, it's probably because we didn't connect with them in a way that resonated, that they felt confident in making a decision.
Yeah, that's interesting. So how would you apply that to, maybe somebody speaking in front of a room of, a mix of styles, or, maybe a husband-wife team or a board of directors or, something along that, where there's going to be that mix? Is there a way that you teach people to kind of, blend your pitch, I guess, to kind of accommodate all those, or, what's your advice in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's even like if you're a sales leader listening to this and you have a team, it's what I learned is in your presentation, in your agendas, you really have to hit all four. All right. So number one, you got to have an agenda. If you are leading a sales team, running a meeting, doing an event, you have to have an outline or an agenda. The D styles, right? They're going to want you to get right to the point. So start out with some facts, some figures. That's great. You can tell, start out, did you know? Here's the facts. Get right to the point. Then include some storytelling. There's always a little bit of a story to appease those eyes. And then talk about, if you're selling your product, what kind of support do you have? What kind of resources do you have? And then what are the facts to back it up? So you really need to hit on all 4 points. So when they're listening, those D people, all right, I love it. Yep, she gets right to the point. She's talking results and outcome. Here's what my product or service will do for you. Okay. And then, hey, I actually have a client that's been using this and she's had a lot of success in it. Ding, hits that I person. We've been in business for, I have 25 years experience. I support you. We've got a 1-800 number. Here's our website. We return all of our calls within 48 hours. Ding, I just hit that S person. And then we've got all of the data and the facts to back it up. If you'd like, we can always get that for you, or, we can have a conversation about some of the facts and the data that to back up our, product or our program. Boom. Now you've just hit that C style. So all of those things really incorporate into it. And it's like I said earlier, an objection is really just a request for more information, and then giving it to them in a way that resonates. Either get right to the point with them, share a story about another client who's used your product or program, talk to them about the loyalty and support that you provide, or give them the spreadsheets, give them the data, give them the research. One of those things based on their style, that's what's missing in your presentation. And that's why they're objecting or they're not ready to close the sale.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's really interesting. When you're working with a team, like how long would you say it usually takes people to kind of wrap their head around this and be able to, apply it to a sales call pretty, confidently and effectively?
So I always start out with it. And so usually it's about a 2.5, 3 hour training. And by the end of that training, people get it. Everybody gets a full in-depth report. And it's something that I offer. A lot of people, if they listen, they say, I just want to know about me, right? Maybe they're a solopreneur and they just really want to know. And I tell people it works for families, personal relationships too. So you can take a DISC assessment. It's 28 pages. It's pretty in-depth.
Oh, wow.
And the first part of the training is we just go through it and we do some fun exercises into whether it's virtual or in person. And we kind of get people moving around the room. And what's great about it when doing it with teams is we separate the people into their different styles. So then they get to hear from their colleagues and their coworkers. So when I was in corporate America, I taught this, over 1,000 different teams, different sales teams, operations teams, tech teams, senior leadership, all different. But when they would see, okay, I can see Ryan, he's over there in the D corner, Stephanie's over here in the I corner. And then I have them share, when you are in a meeting or when you're being sold to, what are some things that are important to you? And every style will tell you, believes that they're the best style. First of all, every style thinks that they're the right way to sell and buy. And so it's really fun. It's interactive when they start seeing other people on their team. And then they can even say, okay, yep, that sounds like my husband. That sounds like my wife. Or, oh gosh, my kids, these are my kids. So people will pick up on it very quickly because they start to see other people. They're like, yeah, now I get it. Why Mary never talks in meetings. She's a high C. She wants to think things through. And as a leader, when you can start to see your employee styles, that's too how you're going to have those better one-on-ones. That's how I was able to elevate my team. In 2019, I took my team from 129 in the company to number 19 in the company. And we're in the top 10% of the nationwide of a Fortune 500 company consistently because I was able to understand my team's style and coach them and mentor them in a way. And they knew my style. Right? If they needed something from me, they'd be like, hey, can we meet for coffee? Or do you want to go to lunch? I'm like, okay, if they're asking me for coffee, they want something from me.
Using your own ammunition against you.
Right? Exactly. But some of them, some of my high C salespeople, which people in a high C role aren't always typical salespeople. One guy who's a very high C, he wanted me to pull all the backroom reporting. Some reporting that he didn't have available to him, but he wanted to know where everybody on the team stood. He was making X amount of calls, X amount of appointments, applications, fundings, pull through. Every time we met, he said, where's everybody else at? I want to know where everybody, and I was like, that was a light bulb moment for me as a leader. I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to motivate him. Because he was always, leading the team. And so I started pulling data and research from teams outside of our area in other states across the country. And I said, yeah, well, look what Joe over in Wisconsin is doing. What? How's he doing that? That's what motivated him, is because he wanted to be number one. And so I kept pushing him, but he needed the data. He wanted to see how many other calls, applications, volume, everything that other people were doing that were ahead of him. Now, some of my other team members, they could care less. They're like, what events do we have going on? What else can we do? What can I create a seminar? So when you can learn what other people's styles are, and so that's the first thing we do in a training session, and it's a lot of fun. You get your own assessment. We do some highlighting, really kind of get to know it, and people will pick up on it. I mean, if I were to ask you based on what I've said, Brian, how would you describe your behavior style? Which one of the four would you say that you are?
Gosh, it's hard to say. I think I definitely have some of the skepticism, but I don't always go off that. So I don't know. I think I'm probably a combination of at least a couple of those.
Right. And how do you make decisions? Are you typically, do you like make decisions quickly? Do you need facts or things to back it up, or do you kind of just
I
know what
mean,
you want?
I definitely need to have some backup. I want to see some proof. And I do want to have a little bit of time to think things through. Actually, I've done some sales coaching with the guy, and that was something that he pointed out is like, you're very different than most people I've worked with. And he's like, I don't usually even bother trying to work with somebody that like he can't, get an answer out of on the spot, essentially. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to give you an answer on the spot. I'm going to do some due diligence. And if that takes me out of the running, so be it. But I'm not going to give you an answer today because I'm not going to let you sell me without doing my due diligence. So
Right.
yeah,
And so that's a good point with the client. Then that you could say, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, then where are you in the buy? Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Somebody that's
yeah,
more your skeptical style might be like, well, I'm at a 6.
yeah,
Well, what would it take for us to get you to a level 10? You might
hmm
say, I got to do my research. Great. What else? What other data can I do? And instead of getting upset,
yeah,
great, Ryan, what else would you like to see? I can pull up some charts. I can pull up other client testimonials. What would it take for me, for you to be at level 10 to make a decision? And it just takes the pressure off. Great. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, this is
exactly.
what I would like to see. So, and that's one thing I ask people is think about, one of the questions I ask is think about yourself. When was the last time you made a major purchase? Maybe bought a car or TV or something with a little bit more money tied to it. Did you walk into that store or online knowing like I don't really care how much it costs, I just want to buy it, I just want it? Or did you do like a cost comparison? Like I had to buy a computer recently. I didn't compare to like 5 other computers. I'm like, okay, you know what? I like this one. It has a touch screen, has a really pretty cool color on it. It's in my price range. I just bought it. Just bought it.
Mhm.
That's how
Yeah,
I buy. So that's
so many
one thing
different
that,
styles.
yeah, how people can really start to understand, like you said, how do they identify it in other people is it really comes down to self-awareness, understanding, like you said, how do you like to buy? You're skeptical. Okay. So when other people are like that, you're probably thinking, okay, yeah, this guy or this gal, she's probably like me. She
Yeah,
likes to
yeah,
think things through.
exactly.
I get that.
I think so many people let that be like a roadblock. Like you said, they just want to increase the pressure instead of adapting to the style and saying, okay, well, what is it that I need to give this person that will make them feel comfortable? They hit that block because it's a different style than them, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. Now I'm frustrated, and they don't know how to move forward, so it just blows it apart.
Yeah, and even on the flip side, people like yourself who are more analytical sometimes are surprised at people like me, like the high I or D style, because they'll be like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just give me the
Let's
price, send me
go.
the invoice, and I'll go." And they're like, "Well, wait a minute. Don't you want to know about this and that?"
I was so
No,
prepared to tell you about it. Yeah,
you
yeah, exactly.
just keep throwing it, keep talking and talking. And the girl on the other line's like, "Okay, enough. I gotta go. Call me later." Then, and then they're like, "Oh, I thought
Yeah,
it was going
yeah,
so well." It's because they didn't need all that. You
yep,
And that's where it comes back to you can't always sell the way that you like to be sold to, right? Understand that, but then being able to adapt to other people.
yep, yeah, exactly. Well, it sounds really useful to like really understand the disc methodology, and it reminds me of, I can't remember what it's called now, but like the color profiles that people are, the red, white, and blue and yellow and all that. Reminds me a
Yes.
lot of that. It seems like this would be really useful even in like writing sales copy. Something that comes to mind is, do you feel like this information is really useful to know for like professional service-based businesses like lawyers, doctors, accountants? I know there seems to be a lot of reluctancy for a lot of professional service providers like that to really want to sell themselves. They want their work to speak for themselves because it seems like they've kind of been trained in their line of work to not be overly promotional about themselves. Do you see any of that? Have you worked with people like that, and do you feel like this method works well to kind of help overcome that for those type of industries and practitioners?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's really just it's human psychology, it's human behavior, and I do get sometimes the resistance. People be like, "Well, I don't like to pigeonhole myself into one way," and I'm a blend. Yes, I'm a blend of these two styles. Of course, you actually are a blend of all 4 styles, and it's not about pigeonholing you into one way. But it's just really understanding, going back to what I said kind of in the beginning, is what resonates with you? How do you respond? How do you, and I also teach emotional intelligence as well. And that's where the DISC and the emotional intelligence really work together. I like to teach them both together, is because you're just understanding people's human behavior. And I'm sure attorneys, they probably do coach when people got to be on the stand, right? Like the attorney's going to come at you hard for this. If, don't get emotional, right? So people like me, I tend to get emotional. They might say, you're going to have to adapt a little bit to be this way or to be that way. So that's where I truly believe it's beneficial for everybody, but I don't want people to feel like it's a label, right? And that's where the colors of DISC has colors too. So it's helpful, like in an organization, to understand the culture. Like I like to teach people to have DISC as the foundation of the culture, but more so just about understanding people. That's really what it comes down to, is to make that human connection. That's how we build on relationships and strengthen relationships, is understanding how people are wired. How are they thinking? And the analytical types sometimes do get misunderstood in meetings. I see it so often when you have a really strong D or I manager, and the people in the room, they're just sitting back, they're not saying anything. And then people are like, what, don't you have anything to say? You don't care? Yeah, they have a lot to say, but they want time to process it. They're not going to be the first to raise their hand and share their ideas. They want to think about it. That's why in a meeting, you got to have an agenda. They want to know, follow along. For the D's, stay on the agenda, right? Get right to the point. The I's, let them share, ask for their input. But then the other styles, give them time to think about it. Don't call on them right away. So as a manager or leader, if you know their style, give them time to think about it. And then at the end of the meeting, hey, if you still have questions, I'll be here afterwards, or you can email me later. But I just need to know by 4:00 today what your decision is on it. You're going to meet all 4 of your styles. So whatever industry you're in, talk to those people in a way that resonates, that clicks with them.
Yeah, makes sense. So, how do you typically teach this? Do you fly out to locations? Do you do it over Zoom? Both? And what kind of costs are associated with, a session? How do you price that?
Yeah, so it's customizable to everyone. The best way, so some people will bring me in just for a half-day training. They just want to get some basics training. Other people will bring me in as like a fractional sales manager and work with their teams, doing the training and then doing some coaching, listening on sales calls, and just building the foundation so they can understand. So doing some of those things, listening on a sales call, like okay, let's hear for that person's style. Here's how we could have done better on that call. Or, hey, you really did great. That was great. You picked up, and what was a win for you? How did you pick up on those cues? What did they say or what did they do that made you realize you had to adapt your sales pitch or process? So a couple of different ways. I mean, one, if you're just a solopreneur or a person, you just want to learn about DISC, I offer an assessment. It's $297. You can take the assessment, and then I give you a 60-minute really one-on-one session. Just learn about yourself, learn about your style. You get access to an online portal, so you'll always have a lifetime of resources. You can go in and always find your portal. You can read about the other styles. There's podcasts, all kinds of things. So you can really continue to do a deep dive. Or I encourage people, before they have to make a sales call, or they're going to meet with the client and they're maybe feeling anxious, or they're not really sure, go in there and kind of look at the styles, try to figure out what kind of behavior style this person is, and read up on it a little bit so that you feel confident and you can know how to adapt to that person's style. Or again, if you're a team leader, we could do an all-team training. It's usually about 3 hours, 3.5-hour training. Everyone takes the assessment, and then we go through it step by step. And I do it in person or virtual. I love doing it in person. I'm willing to fly US or globally. So because as I mentioned earlier, once we can do that, when we can start moving people around and have that interaction, that's where things really start to sink in. Because you do have, and people learn differently, as the VAK, visually, auditory, or kinesthetically, right? Some people, It really resonates with them when they're moving around the room and they're seeing Mary and Joe and Bob and Susie and things like that. So those are just the different ways that, and then I also have an emotional intelligence piece that we weave into it. that's also in the online portal. So it really gives either the small business owner or the entrepreneur just continuing ways to learn to adapt their conversations and really understand those other styles. They can hear it. There's little videos in there so they can kind of pick up on those cues when they're talking to somebody, whether or even emails. I do an exercise where let's analyze some emails, because we know that's how people communicate nowadays, or text messages. I had a previous boss when I was in corporate who was a very high D, direct, straight to the point. And his text message was Havel, which is my last name, please call. And it was PLZ. And I mean, I'm like, everybody, what kind of style do you think this is, right? This is a hardcore, get to the point kind of a guy. He doesn't call me by my first name. He doesn't even type out all the letters of the word please, because he doesn't have the time. Okay. So, right. So those are some fun things. And again, we can do that virtually or in person, but I like to show it a lot of different ways. We do some fun things. We'll play, Celebrity Jeopardy. So I'll show pictures of different celebrities and have people guess what behavior style that celebrity is, or the sharks from Shark Tank, right?
Oh, yeah.
You watch The Voice. Everyone, when they have those panels, they have somebody of all different styles on those panels. And so I tell people, like, if you've ever watched Shark Tank, okay, let's think about it. What is Mr. Wonderful like? Robert Herjavec, Lori Greiner, Mark Cuban. When you understand the styles, you're like, okay, this is this guy. So that's where they're going to have to adapt their pitch. If you're going into Shark Tank, you need to be able to be straight and to the point, tell a story, talk about your facts. You'll hear some of them, right? What's your what do they call it? What are your numbers? What's your valuation? What is it, Mr. Wonderful? He gets to that all right away. He wants to know all the analytics. Mark Cuban is like, yeah, what do you got? Right? You get straight to the point. Lori Greiner, she wants to talk about stories or how to sell it on QVC. They're all different. Different. So
if somebody's going on Shark Tank, they should probably give you a call and book that session with you beforehand, right?
Right. Yeah. We'll talk about how to pitch your sales to every different style. And that's where, once you, again, understand your own style, and obviously your product, your program, your service, being able to understand how you can adapt that pitch to those different styles. And then, of course, just asking the right questions, just asking really good questions. And the more you ask questions, the more you're going to start to uncover their style.
Interested in becoming a guest, sponsoring episodes, or have suggestions for the show? Check out our website at BizGrowMojo.com. Also, you can sign up for our newsletter, where you'll get updates about upcoming episodes and guests, special offers, insights and breakdowns from previous episodes, as well as marketing and business tips you can apply to your own business. Go to BizGrowMojo.com/newsletter.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you do like ongoing training with people and companies, or is it usually just like a single session?
Yeah, my favorite is to do the ongoing. So whether they hire me as a fractional or just like a part-time salesperson, is because I don't want it to be a one and done. And I understand people have budgets and timing and so forth, but it's about creating that culture and having a deep understanding of it. So I love to do the initial training, in person. If it's local, it's easier for me to do it in person, or if they don't have the budget, we can certainly do things interactive over Zoom. I'm more than happy. I love connecting with people on Zoom. It's cameras on, and we do breakout rooms and sessions, but it's really more effective if we can do a couple of training sessions ongoing. So what I did for a life science company, they have scientists all across the world, right? So we did things virtually, but they had an in-person training that was 3.5 hours. And then every 6 months, we've done a virtual training. And again, they've got the portal. I send out some emails like, hey, why didn't you check out this today? So it kind of keeps it a little bit reminder. The managers, when they're doing their one-on-ones, they're going into the portal and leveraging those. So that's what I teach, is really make this part of your company culture. And then there's so many different ways. We talk about how to use this with your family, with all these kids going back to school. You have a kid that has all their books laid out, all their pen, everything all in a row before they go to school. You got the other kid who's going to, throw on a tutu and mismatched shoes and a baseball hat, and out the door they are, right? Understand how your kids are going to prepare for school. So that's where I like to bring the element of it in. It's not of course, for the sales organization and the bottom line of the company. But how do you even relate this into your personal life? And so people feel that emotional connection and, in their personal lives and really understand it.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good system, and it sounds like your entry level offerings are affordable. There's no reason why somebody couldn't do this. Tell me a little bit more about just like your business. What are some of the challenges you face getting this off the ground, and what's kind of helped you overcome some of those things?
Yeah, good question. When I was in corporate, that's really all I knew for 25 years, was the corporate way. And what I didn't realize is how many people, entrepreneurs and small businesses, didn't have access to all the tools and knowledge that I did. Because it was just, what I did and what I know, I thought, well, everybody's got a sales training program. And so I didn't, in my own mind, I didn't think as many people needed it, if that makes sense, right? I don't think as many people would need it as much as they really do. Or what I found is a lot of business owners and sales professionals really love their product. They're really great at talking about their product or their service or their program, but they don't like selling it. One of the biggest things I hear is, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be cringy. One of my clients, probably one of my most favorite success stories, is for 15 years, she's owned a moving company, and she primarily works in that senior transition space. And she would talk to people, families that had to move mom or dad or somebody into an assisted living space. Well, of course, they needed help from moving. But she said, I talk to them, and then some other company swoops in and does it for them cheaper, and I lose out every time. And I can't afford to do it any cheaper. I don't want to put pressure on these people because they're already kind of in a tough spot, having to move their loved one. And so we talked about it. Now she's an S behavior style, so she doesn't like a lot of change. She doesn't like pressure. And so we really understood, taught her understanding buying styles, how to ask the right questions, like asking the clients, the family, what's important to you?
Mm-hmm. It's just what I was thinking. Yeah.
Not one of them has ever said price. I shouldn't say, like in the first 3 months, not one. When she started changing up her questioning and understanding their styles, none of them ever, the conversation of price never came up. It was, I need to get this done in 2 weeks. Mom's getting let go from the hospital and she can't go back home. Can you get this done in 2 weeks? Or mom wants to take her dresser and her favorite chair that she got from her mom, and we don't know if it's going to fit. Great. She offers floor planning services. So
Yeah.
everything that these clients needed, she had to offer, but she didn't know what was important to them or what they needed. She was just going in, giving her presentation. She's very nice, professional, everything. And then she'd be like, okay. Now, when she started understanding sales, that it wasn't about throwing up, it was finding out what was important to them and then offering what she has that's going to fit their need. And so that's where I guess it was really an eye-opener for me, because for me, I've been ingrained in sales. I've been doing it for 5 decades. I love sales. It's in my blood. And I had to do a check too, right? Just like I said, not everybody likes to be sold the way you do. I realized that, okay, not everybody feels the same way about sales that I do. And so that's really what fuels my passion for my business, why I wanted to start my business, and what keeps me going. And then just, of course, there's challenges, of course, of starting a new business and, getting people to trust me. They don't know me. One of the things when I was in corporate, I just read something today about trying to tell people who I am and what I do. I was so attached to, I work for XYZ Bank. I'm a senior leader in the sales and mortgage division. That was my title. That's what it was. Now it's like, who are you? So what is excitement at you do?
It's funny. I've heard other entrepreneurs say very similar things that, once they left that corporate world, it's like, I've got to relearn who I am and, how I tell people that, I guess.
Yeah. And so that's where, if it was a challenge, like when you ask, like, as far as challenges, really getting people to understand what it is that I do and getting to companies and how I can help them, how I can solve for the problems, whether it's, team, like collaboration and teams that have been reorganized, corporate changes, even small companies that are growing or reorganizing. DISC is very good just for sales and operations. right? I work with a lot of manufacturing teams where you've got the sales and then you got the operations, and they're not getting along. So that's where also my training is really useful. And I experienced that in mortgage. I ran the sales team, the operations team. We were constantly battling. And when I would ask the operations manager, can I come into one of your meetings? And it changed everything when I started understanding, when I would explain to the operations team how my sales team's personalities are, and explain to my sales team how the operations team worked. And then we were able to do some alignments, like, could we set this person up, this salesperson up with this operations person? And we started developing little teams based on behavior styles. It was golden.
Changed everything. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's how we skyrocketed our performance. And other managers and people were like, man, how do you guys get along with them so well? I'm like, well, you should, of course I didn't get paid for in corporate, but now that's what I realize. I tell companies that is, I can help you, right? Yeah. We can solve for those problems. Bring me in and let's solve for those problems. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to your short question.
No, that's okay. That's okay. This brings an interesting, point up for me. Is seems like you're very, involved with, everybody that you're working with. Have you had any, problems trying to scale your business to get it to kind of where you want it to be because of how involved you are and hands-on you are with it?
Yeah, that's actually kind of the crossroads that I'm at right now, is because it's just me, right? And how much time do I have to go into companies and do trainings and so forth. So, it's something that I'm just really learning to navigate right now. How do I make the best use of my time and give the most bang for my buck to my clients, for people that need me? Because it's just me. I'm doing the training and I've got all of the material. So and I don't really have to reinvent the wheel. I know the material, I have the resources and things like that. So, that's where I'm at right now, is how do I scale this to a point where also that I want to, right? I mean,
sometimes you don't want to scale. Some people don't want to. Just want to keep it simple, make enough to, do what they want to do and not worry about trying to scale anything.
Right. Yeah, I definitely want to, so you can earn that income that I had in corporate in my, in my entrepreneur world. I have that same level, but I'm also closer to retirement age. So I'd like to be able to, scale my business, because I still love what I do. And I know I've got a lot of good years left in me. But it's to what point do I want to scale? And then do I have the ability to scale?
Sure. So how are you finding yourself bringing business in, for your business right now? What marketing channels are you finding that's working well?
I have always been a big person I talk about leveraging your network to increase your net worth. So for me, my network has been critical. So I really doubled down on LinkedIn, and I know we've connected on LinkedIn as well. And a lot, really all the social platforms. I've always been in a social media person. Even when I was in corporate, I was a lot more restricted as to what I could post, but I wasn't restricted to who I could connect with. Because I was an example, when I was in corporate, I worked in mortgage finance, and I worked for a Fortune 500 bank. We had 250,000 employees. I'm like, I want to meet all 250,000 employees, because they probably need to buy a house or refinance. And if they don't, they have a friend or a relative or somebody else. And when they do that, I want them to think of me. And so I've just carried that philosophy, even when growing up, working at our family vegetable farm. We're at the farmer's market. And have you ever been to a farmer's market yourself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So So farmer's market, it's all the same pretty much, right? Every table is the same, all about the same price. So I learned at a young age, right? How do you differentiate yourself? And I learned that from my grandfather's Italian immigrant. Is, we had some different products, the way we sold garlic, and then we would braid garlic. So we got to be known for our braids of garlic. So people come get their garlic, and then they'd buy their cucumbers and their peppers and their tomatoes from us, right? And then they would just keep coming back, and then they tell their family and friends about us. So that's where, to me, if you can build up a referral of your network. And I hear it from a lot of people, well, I'm in, manufacturing or parts, and my family they don't even know it. They wouldn't even get it. Okay. But if you teach them to talk about your business in a way that they could understand, maybe the next time they're at their work Christmas party, and now their brother-in-law's friend or their coworkers brother is starting this business in manufacturing, and guess what? They need your resource. Like, oh my gosh, wait a minute! I was just talking to my brother-in-law. I think
know somebody who knows somebody.
yeah, right. And it's amazing how that can really organically grow your business. So, but I believe that's what LinkedIn does, is gives you a platform. I like to do a lot of video posting, and I do some fun content. I just tell people, it's not about necessarily what I had for breakfast, but just little glimpses into my personal life. So so they get to know you and they like you, and share some struggles, right? It's not always about the win. I have struggles too, going from corporate to I've had an assistant for 25 years. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm the assistant. I'm the marketing department. I'm the compliance department. I'm the accounting department. I'm everything.
Right.
But again, leveraging my network and support and telling those people what I do. Hey, great. You're an accountant. And guess what? Do you think my accountant has clients that need help with their sales? Yeah. So now my accountant is able to refer me people. My financial advisor. Do you think they have clients, their business is down and they're not selling, and their clients are kind of, complaining because they got to take more money out of their assets because their business isn't growing? Well, hey, or I just saw this gal on LinkedIn. I just got a referral the other day from something like that. So but people don't always think outside the box like that. They just think that why this person, Ryan, he does podcasts. Why he wouldn't have any need for something in manufacturing? You don't know. You just don't know what you don't know. Yeah,
exactly. Well, that brings me to a really interesting point, talking about your network. How did you manage to build your network as big as it is? I noticed you've got I think it was around 20,000 followers on LinkedIn. You've got, decent sized following on other networks as well. How did you get it to that point? Was it just reaching out to a lot of people? Was it from posting content? And how long have you, kind of had a sizable network like that?
Yeah. Well, I think I was probably one of the first people to join LinkedIn. And I remember years ago when I was in mortgage and I was struggling, the market in 2008 had hit really hard. And I went to this networking event, and there was these guys who were like, yeah, there's this new platform called LinkedIn. And we think it's going to grow. We think it's going to be a really big thing. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, this was really, after MySpace, it was kind of like the newest way to connect with people in a professional way. So I just started, and everybody has their different philosophies on it. For me, again, when I worked in corporate, I just want to connect with everybody that worked with me. I connected with people that worked in credit card services down in North Carolina. I didn't care, right? Because we work for the same company. We have the same goals or, ideas, or we're experiencing the same things. And then when I'm out with people, and so not only just connecting with people that are in your industry, but also being intentional. I do like to check out people's comments, and I will make a comment like, congratulations, and not just congratulations, but hey, congratulations on launching your podcast. Hey, congratulations on your promotion. Congratulations on your retirement. Because other people too, and I do this, when somebody mentions somebody on LinkedIn or somebody comments it, I'm like, oh, well, they like the same content I do. Content I do. What does this person do? Oh, okay, I'm going to connect with this person. And I always say, I don't know a lot of people, but a lot of people know me. And my friends are a testament to that. Everywhere we go, people are like, are you Stefani Havel? Oh, I know you. And they feel like they know me because I put a lot of content out there. But that's my style, and that's what works for me. And that's where I've been successful when I stepped out of corporate, is because even people that I worked with at that large financial institution are referring me people, because they have friends and family who are owning businesses. Like I said, I got a referral from the other day from a guy. He said, yeah, I used to hear her speak on some national sales calls, because when I worked at this bank, they would roll out a new program and they'd be like, can you run this national call and kind of teach people how to sell or pitch this product in their market? So this guy, I didn't even know him. I'm in Minnesota. He was in Iowa. And he said, I remember you, and you would be on these calls. He said, hey, my friend just took on this new VP role at a bank, and he's got a sales team that's struggling. Is that something you do or help him? I see you posting stuff about sales. I'm not sure. Of course, he wasn't 100% sure what I did, but he knew that I did sales and he knew I had training. He recognized my name. He saw my post. got me a lead, signed a new client.
Yeah,
And yeah, and so people, again, it's worked for me. Some people will argue with it. That's not their style. They don't want to do it. That's okay. I can just only tell you that it's worked for me, and it's worked for me very well.
yeah, yeah, I can tell. That's awesome. Have you had any other channels that unexpectedly, worked well? Have you tried ads? What role has your website played in your success?
Yeah, my website's a work in progress. I think lead magnets, again, kind of something that was really new to me, because while it was all being done in corporate America, it wasn't anything that I was directly involved with. But did the company, the bank that I work for? Sure, they had all kinds of billions of dollars in ads, and
Yeah.
click on this or have these brochures. So really, working, just trying to find lead magnets. What do people want to know, and what is it about sales? What is the problem that people have in sales? And then providing maybe a lead magnet or something where I can get them to sign up for that, so I can get an email address. And again, webinars, I do LinkedIn Lives. I really enjoyed going on LinkedIn and doing a LinkedIn Live, or just webinars. And that's been helpful too, because people will say, well, we want to hire a trainer, but the last person we had was a total dud. Or they did it online and they're like, okay, so today's topic is, right? They want somebody who's going to have energy. If we're going to be there for
Yeah.
6 hours, you better bring the fun. So I
Yep.
say I'm Stefani. So by having videos online, not so much on my website because it's in progress, but on LinkedIn, I tell people, go to my LinkedIn profile. You can
Yeah.
see plenty of my videos and snippets and see how I engage, what I teach about. So that's been really helpful too. And I know a lot of people don't like video. I've never once liked myself on video, but you just got to get over it. Nobody's going to like, even celebrities in Hollywood don't watch their own movies because they don't like the way they look or their voice. So, my advice is just do it, because podcast videos, that's the way it's going.
Yeah, that's the way everything seems to be headed. I mean, people are consuming more and more video content, and you make a really good point though, with just content in general. To really become an authority in your space, I think you've got to be producing content, and whether that's your website. I mean, your website's a great place to do it, but if you've got a following on LinkedIn, why not do it there? It seems to be effective for you, putting out that content regularly.
Yeah, it's free. It's free,
Yeah.
right? People say, if you can't afford a website, I mean, I'm all about. I get it. I realize, I think, you talk about like an entrepreneur, like money or expenses, it can get expensive, having to, think that you have all these tools. So leverage the social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and do the videos and just, put the content out there. It's free. And I think LinkedIn has something like 19 billion users. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And that's one thing I also, kind of on a side thing, is I do help people with their LinkedIn profile. It's kind of part of my sales process. And that's because I talk about is you can almost tell somebody's behavior style by their LinkedIn profile, depending on how well they, have it put out. If they don't have a picture or anything, they're probably more of that S or C style. They don't want the attention. They just, want to skim below, and that's fine. Right. So those are some things I help people too, because I believe that, part of sales is having a really solid LinkedIn profile, and there's opportunities. So I have a little checklist that I can give people as well to kind of get their LinkedIn profile a little bit more up to speed and recognizable.
Yeah, so important to just have that social presence. If, for nothing else, just to, act as a digital business card that people can look at and see that you're who you say you are and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about just, how being a business owner has impacted your life. How would you say that, running and owning your business has changed your life?
Oh, gosh. In so many ways. One, I think just I really have enjoyed the freedom and the fun of being able to do it in a way that works for me. So
Yeah.
I flourished in corporate America. I had a great run at it. And if I would have lost my job, if they would have like reorganized, I'd probably still be there, right? But but I just, when I was in corporate and I did all this sales training, there was a lot of, I don't know how to say it really. Like, I was in a box, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I would do my sales training like, oh, you can't quite say that, or, oh, you can't do it that way. Or even on our social media sites, we're very, very restricted. We can only post articles that they approved. And if I wanted to post a picture of me volunteering with my team. I had to get the picture approved, and it would, a month later, I'm like, okay, this is pointless. I volunteered a month ago, and I'm finally able to post it. So I love it that it's been given me the freedom to be able to train and teach people about sales in a way that's authentic to me. Yeah. Right. That I can share my enthusiasm, my fun. I can share my stories. It doesn't have to be this cookie cutter way, which works. I mean, this bank was very successful, but there's other ways to sell. And so that's what owning my own business has given me, that opportunity to take my 25 years. I tell stories, selling on the farm. My mom owned a beauty salon, selling the beauty salon. I can tell all my stories now of different places I worked at, and help people sell in a way that feels, that resonates with them, that feels authentic and true to them. And the freedom that it's given me with my time. And during COVID, mortgage rates dropped significantly. And I was probably working 80 hours a week. I always started my day, I still do start my day going to the gym. I come home, I'm in my gym clothes, and it'd be 10 o'clock at night, and I'm still in my gym clothes. And I've got crumbs on my desk because I couldn't leave my desk. I was that busy. I had a large team. I was managing, 20 people, sales, helping managing operations teams. And it was great, but I really, I was exhausted. Really exhausted. So if I can make that income and work a 40-hour or a 30-hour work week, and still have that same income and be authentic and do it in a way that brings me joy and lets me share my passion, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. I think there's just a lot to be said for being able to do things your own way and not have to, do it the way that somebody else thinks is the best way to do it. Being able to cut through that red tape and do it how you want to.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. I mean, you got to have a strong gut, because you will get gut punches. Again, I came out of the gate strong, and then I've had some moments where, oh my gosh, people are saying no to me, and the leads aren't coming in. Like, oh my gosh, I don't have that base salary, and then my health benefits, and if I have a health scare, like but but there's, and I think you asked, is there a plan? No, I have no plan B. It's Stefani 2.0, and we're not going back to 1.75 or 1.1. There's no going back. It was a great run, but I just couldn't imagine having to go back after I have experience in doing it on my own. It's tough. No matter whether you work in a corporation or an entrepreneur, you're going to have challenges. Sure. But I'd rather have these challenges and be able to work through them my way, and the support for people that resonates with me and for my bottom line.
Yeah. Right? Everything is hard, but you got to choose your hard, and what's the outcome of the hard, because in my mind, corporate is just as hard as trying to, run your own business and get that going. So, what's the ultimate outcome of those two, or potentials for those two? They're not the same, and one of them, is gonna leave you in a position if you get let go, that you're in the exact same position. Whereas if you build something up that's your own, it's just not the same.
Right. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. Choose your heart. I say that, it's right. I think that working, 80 hours a week and then making great commissions, but then, having to do things this way and that way, and always wasn't the best thing for the client, but this is the way we had to do it. And, and have to be on these meetings and being told you can't do this or say this a certain way. And, so you're right. It's hard either way, but I think entrepreneurship, and I'm glad I took the leap. It wasn't easy, because we all got let go, and we're in a smaller market, and, Minneapolis and Twin Cities, everybody's going for the same jobs and at a fourth of the pay of what we were making. And I was like, no, I'm done. It was a good run, closing the door. I'll open up Stefani 2.0, and here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I can resonate with that for sure.
Were you in corporate too, then, you said too?
Yeah, I actually worked in an agency for 14 years. It's only been about 3 months since I left that, and doing my own thing now, and really enjoying the freedom and just the ability to do things how I want to do them now, so.
Congratulations. Good for you.
Thank you.
Feels good to be out too for you as well.
It does, absolutely. I mean, there were great things, like you said, about working in the corporate world, but I've had in the back of my head for a while that I kind of wanted to do my own thing and do things a little bit differently, and so here I am. Well, it's
Good for
been a
you.
lot of fun, Stephanie. You've answered most of my questions. I do have a couple more I want to ask before we kind of wrap things up here. What would you say like the number one mistake people make in sales is?
Oh, in sales, I think it's just really listening, not taking time to really listen to what is the customer's need or what is the problem that we have. And I still fall guilty of it sometimes. We're so excited about what we have, about our product or our service, and we know that we can help people. We just can't wait to tell everybody about it, and we just want to share everything and tell them everything. Like my client Kathy, right? She knew she had it all, but we got to stop and listen and find out what's important to the client. So you know that you can solve all, you know that what you have is the solution, but you have to hear what the problem is first, so that you can adapt to your solution to their problem. So if you truly believe that what you have to offer is the solution, but let them talk about the problem first. Feel their pain, understand their need, and then you can go into solution. But if you don't listen and take time, and that's why one of the things I teach or questions ask is, what are the three most important things to you? Like my client that owns the moving company. Tell me, what are the three most important things to you in this move? A lot of times they'd be like, well, it's hard. We just need to get it done. Okay. What are some other things? Just going deeper, asking deeper questions. Don't just settle for the first answer. Really understand what in their belly is causing them pain and problem. And the more you can do that, you can understand it. Then you can solution for it. And then they're going to be like, oh, thank you. They're going to feel relieved because you're going to be able to figure out, okay, so if I could do this and do this and do this for you, would that be a win? Yeah. Oh my gosh. How did you know all three things that I needed? Because you just told me. But they forget, right? Like you asked them, but they forgot that they told you the three things they need. But if you listen and you can repeat that back to them, know, like, and trust. Now they trust, she gets me. Yeah. She knows exactly what's important to me. So I would say, we don't listen enough.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that's very true. It's really easy to, get talking about your product or your service and not hear what, somebody really needs and figure out if you can solve that. Any advice for, listeners that, maybe want to start a similar business to what you do, like some type of sales coaching or other coaching business, something along those lines? What advice would you give them to get started that you wish you would have had?
Yeah. Well, be a little bit like Ryan. Excuse me, think things through a little bit, right? Now, again, it depends on your behavior style, but really get clear on what you want. Be clear on what it is that you do, how you can help people, how you serve people. Because I think, I was guilty of it too. There's so much out there and, I can help you do this. I can help you do this. I can help you do this. So one, do your research, because there are a lot of people that are just starting up saying, I can get you, 200 leads a month. Well, what have you done? Prove it to me that you can do that. Right. Fine. Now I tend to, like I said, I'm one of those people, I tend to make decisions pretty quickly and they could get me excited. I was like, okay, I'm in. And then I bought things and I was like, oh, well, this is not really, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't resonate with my business, what I need. So I think, we want to hit the gate running. But really just think about what you want to do, get clear on your process. What is the problem that you solve, right? And then the second thing I would just say is build those relationships. Never, ever, ever miss an opportunity to tell people what you do. That's the one thing anybody in sales or in any type of business, never miss an opportunity to tell people what you do. I don't care if you're at church or your friend's kid's birthday party. Be able to talk about what you do. Never miss that opportunity to tell people do, or be on social media, because you just don't know who knows who and who knows what. And if you truly love, you want to start this business and you want to go out on your own, then tell people about it. Don't be afraid to tell people about it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, Stephanie. Where can somebody go to learn more about you and your business and, maybe book your services?
Yeah, so you can book an appointment with me at bettercallstephanie.com. And so I spell my name Stefani. So it's bettercallstephanie.com. And I always ask you, just ask a few questions, but you can get time on my calendar. Otherwise, if you go to the salesstrategynetwork.com, and that's /decode, I have some free resources for you. So if people have been listening and saying, I don't know if I really want to talk to her yet, can I just get some resources? Sure. Just go to salesstrategynetwork.com /decode, DECODE, and you can get some free resources. Just kind of learn about the DISC model. I do some webinars. You can join a free sales webinar if you want some sales tips. If you want to take an assessment, all that kind of information is there on the Sales Strategy Network /decode. So
yeah, very interesting. I'll definitely have to look at that, and I want to learn a little bit more about the DISC, methodology and everything behind that. It's very interesting. I think it's very useful. So, yeah, everybody take her up on that and go check it out. Is there any final thoughts or promotions that anybody should be aware of? Anything like that?
Well, I'd love it if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. So thank you for asking. Again, you can just find me Stefani Havel, and I'm on all the social platforms. So I accept all requests. If people start spamming me or rude or post gross things, I'll block you. But I would just love to connect. Just look me up on LinkedIn, Stefani Havel, or Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And TikTok, all under Stefani Havel. So I'd love to connect, and I'm always open to a complimentary call. If you're new into sales, or maybe you've been in sales and you're struggling, or you want to start a sales training, I love connecting with people. That's why I loved it. When you reached out about your podcast, I love it. I'm newer into my business, and I just think the more that you can connect and always learn from each other is a win. So if you want to connect with me or call me, no obligations. Let's just chat and see how I can serve you.
Awesome. Yeah, well, again, I appreciate it, Stephanie. Thanks for being on the podcast, and everybody needs to take her up on that and get in touch, connect, and maybe book a consultation or some coaching.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with everyone today.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the BizGrowMojo podcast with Ryan Amon. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the BizGrowMojo podcast.